and literally hundreds of people like him, both before and after Natalie was killed. See, here's where everybody goes wrong. They want to focus just on Natalie and just on her death. They don't want to know what was going on before that or what's been happening since. You know, I've never been charged with a sex offense. There's a reason for that. Sex is gross. Just the idea of it is gross. The things that people are willing to do to another human being in order to spread their genetic lineage. Now, for me, my comfort level with sex, it doesn't exist. I'm not comfortable with it. That's because in the places that I grew up with people who, well, their sexual experiences were from being sexually abused by their parents or by their siblings. No, I don't want sex. The idea of it is gross and shameful. Most of my experiences with listening to people talk about sex, both men and women, is completely shameful. It's like men and women both try to live up to a stereotype. Well, here's the thing with that particular stereotype. It's called breeding. And it's natural. It's natural to be sexual and competitive. So I understand fully why it is that people are freaked out by the fact that I'm not interested in sex. What freaks me out is that there's a lot of women that I know that are grossed out by sex because they were molested, but at the same time, they're sex fiends. They have to have it. For some of them, it's a comfort level as far as having someone else there for their safety and protection. And for some of it, it's that they get really, really, really friggin' horny. Just because they were molested by their dad doesn't mean they don't have sexual urges. Doesn't mean they didn't go through puberty. And Jesus, I should have thrown away all those earlier. The filter from a cigarette is burning in my ashtray and it stinks. Well, it passes for an ashtray. Anyway, there's a lot of people I know. All sorts of accusations. All over the place. All the time. About the things that they've done sexually to other human beings. Half the people I've had sex with in my lifetime are dead. I have not had a lot of sex. The thought of it grosses me out. If a woman is telling me about her experiences being molested, I don't want to have sex with her. I don't want to risk putting her through something traumatic. I know a lot of women like Brenda Dickinson. You know, she was molested all growing up. And of course, it was family that did it. And she is traumatized by sex. She doesn't want nothing to do with sex. The only reason she has sex is because she loves her husband. That's the only reason she has sex. She doesn't explain to him, I guess, about how, you know, every time she has sex with him, she has to relive being molested growing up. Would her husband understand that? Would he stick around if he wasn't getting laid? She gives it up once a month. Now, is it okay to be telling her sex life all over the place? Well, yes, actually it is. It wasn't my business until she told me. And that's the thing with a lot of these folks that don't like the fact that I spoke up. They should have been speaking up. If you can tell me, you can tell others. If you can say it to me, you can say it to the police. If you can say it to me, you can say it to the media. If you can be a piece of shit, that's on you. That's your choice, your decision. If you want to look the other way, that's your decision. Now let's take a look at all the people that I had to try to work with, and how many of them have been charged with child abuse. I mean, not just Amy Witcher. And yes, Amy Witcher was charged with child abuse. The reason for that is for, of course, having her kids around dangerous men, just like Rose M. Kelly did with her daughters. This shit's not okay. But then again, you say it's not my business after making it my business. No, 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 no. That's not okay either. When you tell me that you're going to help me, and then you spend all of the time that you're supposed to be helping me talking about you, I'm getting familiar with you and your situation. You're not getting familiar with mine. So when people say, what do you do with your time? I can say, oh, well, I learned everything about somebody else. I have to go public, and so I do. If you don't speak out, nothing ever changes. But then again, you tell one of those little white lies and it magically makes everything you did okay. What Maddie Boa did was not okay, and she knew it wasn't okay. Her spreading those rumors and making those claims, that shit never should have happened. That is inhumane as all hell. And then, of course, they call me mentally ill so that nobody will listen to me. They'll just assume that I'm the one in the wrong. Which is bad enough because I've already got a penis. That's a little piece of equipment that I happen to have that makes people assume that I must be the guilty party. I must be the predator because there are predatory men. But how many of you women go back to that predatory man? After coming to a guy like me to get help, to get out of that situation. Because nobody else will help you. At least that's what you tell me. Since Natalie died, I had so many people that offered to help. Offered to, but didn't follow through. And it didn't matter how many resources I expended, it wasn't good enough. And these people, all of them have more than I do. Every one of them. With the exception of those drug addicts up there in Tacoma. And man, I got to tell you, they did a lot to help me. Who found my stolen items? Drug addicts. Repeatedly in Tacoma, Washington. Drug addicts. What did the cops do? Threaten, harass, and intimidate me? Fuck around? That's what they did. When I needed to turn in one of their officers for the horrible shit that he'd done, they sent me to that officer to turn him in. That is not acceptable. That lady knew exactly what I was saying, and it's a good thing I recorded it on my YouTube, but nobody cares. Nobody cares. So they get to harm me in multiple jurisdictions. And most of it's just standard homeless bullshit, but that compounded with the Natalie bullshit makes for a lot of excessive bullshit. Meanwhile, Natalie never once, ever accused me of raping or molesting her. What is it the people were using as an excuse to threaten and fucking assault me? Claiming that I was some sort of a fucking child molester. Claiming I was only after her vagina. Saying all men only want one thing, and that right there. Right there. A lot of the girls that I grew up with that are horn dogs, they get horny. Like they have to fuck something horny. They grew up getting molested by their brothers or by their dads or by their stepdads or by their uncles or in some cases by their grandfathers. Some of them by their mothers, by the way. Or sisters. But then you talk about how men only want one thing. Men only want one thing. You put all of us in the same barrel. You say all men are the same, and then you don't bother looking in the mirror. I think we're all men. I really do. I think that is the way that it needs to be looked at. Men are men, women are men too. That's equality. If a woman wants to be a construction worker or a mechanic, well, by all means, I know some pretty damn good female mechanics. Shannon Alvarado, she was afraid of getting in trouble. She thought her alcoholism, because she was assaulted, she thought that the state workers that were coming to her house were going to make her piss in a cup, and she wanted to know how to pass an alcohol whiz quiz. She had a whole week. And she kept on every day having severe anxiety over her alcoholism, over that damn booze. Then you got, of course, Amy Witcher. Yes, she's been charged with child abuse and child endangerment for good reason. She was endangering her children. We got Robert Franklin Mornick and Mark Richmond and, of course, Wesley Reiner. Look those names up on the Nebraska Sex Offender Registry. Those men were not only charged with sexual assault, they were convicted. Natalie didn't realize, especially in the drug community that she was in, or maybe she did. She probably did. Every druggie knows how to manipulate others. Every one of them. That's what they do. In order to get your drugs, in order to get your addiction, you have to manipulate Christians. You have to manipulate your family. You have to manipulate your friends. You have to manipulate your mom and your dad. You just straight up manipulate. And then when you get busted, you play victim like a police officer does. I think men and women being treated equal starts off with getting rid of the bias, and that requires education. Kind of like the fact that as an autistic male, I am extremely likely to get murdered by the police. As somebody with Tourette's syndrome, I am extremely likely to get murdered by the police. As a homeless person, I am extremely likely to get murdered by the police. As someone who cannot physically run away, what am I supposed to do? I was assaulted by a police officer with a long history of assaulting people. In 2018, he assaulted me in January. This is before they found Natalie's killer. They thought if they assaulted me and then charged me with assault, felony assault against a police officer, Officer Waylon Lolatai. Look his name up. He assaulted at least 6 other people on camera just in 2018. How many people did he assault off camera? I've never been charged with abusing children because I don't. I've never been charged with sexual assault because I don't. If I really love someone, like Brenda Dickinson does love her husband. So she's willing to give it up. Willing to. That doesn't mean she wants to. It means she's willing to make concessions once a month. For me, if you're telling me traumatic stories about yourself and your sex life, and then you try to have sex with me, no, I'm not going to get it. I'm not going to be understanding of it because I don't get it. Why would you tell me a story of you being raped and then try to hop on my penis? That don't make any sense. Please don't do that. That is fucking insane. I've never seen a man do that, by the way. Only women. You don't understand how that would freak a guy out? And I've had it explained to me, that's a woman trying to put herself in a vulnerable position because she's the rabbit and you're the wolf. And you're supposed to pounce when she's vulnerable. And that's why she's supposed to present it like that. It's a game. Well, that doesn't sound like a fun game. That's not entertaining. That's not good thinking. That's not positive. That's just gross. And I don't get how you can pounce on that. I don't get how you can have sex with somebody that you feel so incredibly sorry for over the sexual experiences that they've had. There's a lot of people who offered to help, and there's a lot of people who were friends of mine, or claimed to be friends of mine, who wouldn't help. One of them, Kimberly Vala Martinez, and I posted up the screenshots with her. She was claiming that people did try to help me, like my mom tried to help me. Really, if you listen to the conversations with my sister that are recorded on this YouTube channel, my mom did not try to help me. Her and the rest of my family did everything that they could to talk Tara, my little sister, into not looking at evidence, into not helping, into not speaking up. This is my own family, folks. What do they have to hide? What did they do to me? What did they do to my little sister, and why would they want to keep us separated? It's in those recordings. My little sister made a really, really, really big fucking mistake years and years and years ago. She did something that is so incredibly fucking immoral. Yeah, that is the kind of shit that people should go to prison for. But there's also making your penance, having remorse for what you've done. My little sister did apologize for what she did. She understood the consequences. She was able to tell me the consequences back to me. Unlike everyone else in my family, when my little sister did me wrong, she fessed up to that shit. Michael never fessed up to his shit. My stepdad never stepped up. Not once. My mother never took responsibility for her actions. Why would she? She's a drug addict and possibly, or I should say quite probably, a pedophile. My mom's one of those women who was raped by her dad all growing up. And he didn't stop raping my mom until my mom got together with my dad. My dad, Brian Schwartz, was probably my mom's only saving grace. My grandpa bought them a place in Bridgeport, bought it for them outright. My dad had the gall to complain about it. All right, we got a spammer on here. We know what to do with spammers. Take screenshot. Hide user on this channel. Take another screenshot. Blam. Easy. If there was a woman who didn't tell me all of her sob stories about being raped and then try having sex with me, you know, maybe I might let one of them be successful. Of course, that's few and far between now that I'm a lot older than I used to be. And I got no teeth. I was never really all that good looking. I got a pretty big nose. Before I grew my nose, though, I was pretty good looking, I guess, when I wasn't fat from medications. We know what the three lies are. The three lies that if a woman does something fucked up, she just claims that a man did one of those things. Well, here's the thing about police officers. Police officers get away with doing those things more than anyone else because nobody would believe a police officer would do such a thing. Even with police officers being rampantly busted nationwide, taking part in sex rings, taking part in prostitution rings, taking part in human trafficking, and yes, even raping people while on duty. Like that officer in Spokane. I've been there, so you know. Or that one in Tacoma. I've lived there, so you know. I went to the school there that you don't want to go to if you're a white kid. 81% minority. I definitely was not liked because I was white. But I was out. A lot of people pretend that all of us are social morons. You know what? When I don't have a severe amount of hell on my plate, you can't tell me from somebody else. Yeah, I've got a few little quirks here and there, but for the most part, it's difficult for a lot of people to tell. You have no idea how difficult it is, however, to control my Tourette syndrome 24 hours a day so that people think I'm normal. Or to not stem, because if I'm not normal, people go, oh, there's something wrong with him. Normal and average, those are two very bad words. Very few people are average. Let's say the average height of a man here in America is 6 foot. How many men stand right at 6 foot? Not very many. Most of them are a little over or a little under. There's a lot of men who are, well, 4'8". No, not so much. There's a lot of men that are 5'4", though. In between 5'4" and 5'9". I'm 5'9". We're short men. We're really short men because even at 5'9", that's 3 inches shorter than average. That means there's a whole lot of men who are over 6 foot. A whole lot. To make up for all the men that are quite a few inches shorter. There are not a whole lot of men who are out there standing 7 foot tall. Or 7'2". Now you see somebody who's different, you think they're a freak of nature, they're a weirdo, and you think if you call them a weirdo, then it makes it okay to be mean or to blame them for all the things that were horrible and rotten in your life. A lot of women I know are man haters. My mom is a man hater. She talks about how all men want is sex, how all men are pigs, and all this and all that, and so on and so on. And she goes on and on and on. But just like Lana Engeline, well, both of those women, products of sexual abuse, both of those women are sex fiends. They have to have it. My mom has been charged with child abuse because she abuses children. She's not the only one. I mean, I want to take a look down memory lane. Most of the places that I've stayed, Sally Treons, they'd been charged with child abuse and endangerment. As well as Sally Treon, the day that I got there, telling me about her husband beating her like a week earlier. Holy shit, that's scary. And then they just yelled at each other the whole time I was there. Shannon Alvarado, same thing. Afraid of getting her kids took. Having CPS over at the house again. And being so addicted to alcohol that she was asking me how to pass a whiz quiz on alcohol for a whole week, a nervous wreck, because she couldn't have her booze. Then there's Dallas Richmond, same thing with him. Harley was charged with child abuse, reckless endangerment, and some other stuff, I believe. Child endangerment is a pretty big one, isn't it? With 5 kids in the vehicle, you're sitting there in the driver's seat drunk as a fucking skunk, passed out. Holy hell. Now, because I was assaulted by Waylon Lolatai, they wanted to try to catch a killer. Wanted to pretend like I was a murderer, like I would kill Natalie Bollinger. And thought if they assaulted me, hey, they caught the killer, blah, 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 blah. No, I wasn't the killer. I'd already talked to the police in Natalie's case. And I had to prioritize. When I was assaulted and threatened and all that bullshit, you know what? When I had to talk to the cops, I did try explaining to them what was going on. But for the most part, I tried to focus on what was important. Finding Natalie. Finding Natalie. I went to where Natalie told me to go. I went to where Alicia told me to go. I went to where the cops told me to go. I've gone to the agencies I've been told to go to, and the agencies they told me to go to, and the agencies they told me to go to. You got no idea how lucky Robert Franklin Warnick is. He is a registered sex offender. And they were able to use that to pretend like I was targeting him as a sex offender. No, he fucking threatened to kill me, threatened to assault me, and fucking assaulted me twice. And I have to be afraid to go to the state patrol or to the police. Because there are no police in Dual County. It's just Dual County Sheriff Scott DaCosta and his goons. Now you get to look at the situation with Waylon Lolatai and how he had to quit his job and go elsewhere because of the quantity of bullshit that he was putting people through. But then you guys pretend like I couldn't possibly be going through that with people trying to pretend that I'm a sex offender and a child abuser. You guys are out of your fucking minds. There's a lot of things that you want to call wrong with me that are actually absolutely wonderful gifts. The fact that I have Asperger's is phenomenally wonderful. Most people would not would not be this intelligent. I get what a genetic anomaly I am and how rare it is for somebody to be as intelligent as I am. I also understand the correlation between intelligence and bullying. I know that because of my intelligence, I have to dumb myself down and play a little stupider. Because if I don't, and people know how intelligent I am, they will be jealous and they will poke fun at me a lot. The thing about intelligence is that to stupid people, intelligent people sound crazy. And well, you guys got a quick quip for everything. You got a pre-made excuse for everything. You don't let someone finish what they're saying. That doesn't mean that they're not right in what they're saying. Just because you want to believe that all men are created evil does not make it so. There's no reason to be a good man in the United States. No reason for it whatsoever. That is asking for abuse. When you say it's not okay to tell victims that they're asking for it, that they asked for it, that they wanted it, that they needed it or chose it or deserved it, but that's exactly what you do. It don't feel so good, does it? My mom was raped by her own dad, and she continued to go back and help her dad and work for her dad because her dad had money. He had benefit. He had a purpose. According to my grandma, my mom and my Uncle Greg extorted over $200,000 out of my grandpa. I wonder how they were able to do that. Uncle Greg knew that Grandpa was fucking my mom. Here's the thing about my mom and the probability of her being a sexual predator. My mom ain't right in the head. Just like many people who are victims of childhood sexual abuse. She takes her comfort and worth in sex. If she doesn't have someone there to have sex with her, it starts to mess with her head and make her feel worthless, which makes a situation with her Munchausen by proxy come out. She needs to feel needed. When my grandpa, the one who raped her repeatedly growing up, got colon cancer, my mom wanted my grandma Gross's house. When she died, it went to my grandpa. So my mom wanted Grandpa Gross's house. Grandpa Gross ended up leaving, or my grandpa Bruns's house, her dad. So Brian actually left the house in his will to his wife. And my mom, after Natalie died, my grandpa ended up dying a few months later. And my mom had gone and pretended like she cared about him for a few months before he died. And throughout his life, you know, she did work for him, odd jobs and whatnot, because she had to pay for her drug addiction somehow. My stepdad made good money. Just my mom didn't spend it right. When it should have been getting spent on food, I had to provide food. At least I had a job to do so. People say, you just need to get a job. Shit, I've been working since I was a fucking kid. When I was locked up in institutions, yeah, there's no jobs there. But you are assigned a task. Your task might be to work in the dish room. Like me, I had to work in the dish room at Mount St. Vincent's. In some of the places, my job was to wash dishes, and some of it was to wash everyone's clothes. Most places, you have to wash your own clothes, though. When I was a kid, I was molested and I was raped, and I had a lot of other horrible shit happen to me that, yes, I do have PTSD from. Now, the things that you use to pretend that I'm a horrible monster, to say, oh, look at this, see, he's a narcissistic, horrible asshole who just wants to do this, and this. No, these are all trauma responses. You don't bother to ask yourself, why am I having these trauma responses? You just go, oh, he's mentally ill, and look the other way. That's horrible. Police know you do that. Everybody knows you do that. Your problems are always worse than everyone else's, and everybody else's are just drama. But then with your drama, you want help. Oh, wait. It's not drama because it's you. It's not drama. Drama is on TV. Drama is from actors. In real life, it's trauma. Trauma. Being raped on a television show is drama. Drama. But for the person with trauma, Trauma, who is watching it, they are reliving their trauma. And rape seems to be a common theme. And the predators are primarily who? Males. There's a young woman named Alicia Silverstone, and she played in a movie where she played a psycho woman. As psycho as many of the women that I know, actually. Many of the women I know will not have female friends because in their eyes and their view, they believe that women are crazy and women are evil. Women are twisted. Well, here's the thing, is that this is women telling me these things about women. It's not that women are inherently that way. It's that that's what we teach them to be here. And that's gross. That is gross on so many levels. Anyway, there's some folks who are coming into town, and he typed heading to Freddy's now. That was at 12:05. I'm not sure how long it takes him to get here, though. Hopefully he'll message me when he gets here. I know they live in the mountains, and I know it's... Well, if you live actually in the mountains, it's quite a drive. It's about at least a 30-minute drive. And you never know when somebody types something like that as they're going out the door, and then they run into something that they forgot, or the dog gets out and wants to go chase after some wild geese or some wild chickens or something. Or your tire blows, or it's low on air, or you got less gas than you thought you were going to have, or the school called and one of your kids is sick, or, just life happens. Now let's take a look at all my predators. There's a lot of people who were predatory that were friends of mine too, like Rayanne Ingersoll, but she was abusing children and was charged with it, rightly so. There's also Dallas Richmond, and of course there's Lori Elliott. I don't know what her last name is now. I don't think she got remarried after she was married to David. With all these people that I stayed with after Natalie died, they were supposed to help me with their addictions and all that. Not going to happen. Like with my little sister who wanted to help back when she was mentally capable of doing so. My family wanted to cut her off. What do they have to hide? With Robert Franklin Warnick, because he's a registered sex offender, it's considered a hate crime. to go after him. Well, I didn't go after him. I spoke up about him and what he had done to me. That's not against the law, but they tried to play like that's what I had done. Absolutely not. Now, if I were a sex offender, then people targeting me the way that they have and calling me a sex offender would be considered a hate crime. But it's not considered a hate crime to target someone as if they're a sex offender, if they're not a registered sex offender. How much sense does that fucking make, people? People are dead. A lot of people are dead over this. Natalie Bollinger did not realize how important she was just because of her looks and just because of what she went through. She didn't understand that there were people who hung on her every word because they were infatuated with her and her sister. But Natalie got what she wanted. She escaped from her family. And she tried to make them happy by giving them what they wanted. A scapegoat for all of their sins. There's a lot of women who are sexually guided that after I wouldn't have sex with them, they did horrible shit, like Lanny Engeline, Crystal Bocombe, Jamie Curtis. There are a lot of women who have been sexually predatory towards me. But I am expected as a man to want to have sex with women. I am expected as a man to want to plant my seed. No, I don't. I don't want to bring fucking kids into this world. Are you fucking shitting me? What happens if I have a son who is born with Tourette syndrome and Asperger's? What then? How are you going to treat my son? Are you going to treat my son the way that you treat me? Expect him to do things for you that you wouldn't do for him? Treat him like he's a subspecies of primate? Treat him like, despite his intelligence, he must be retarded? And there's those folks who, when I point at any homeless person, say, he looks like a chimo, he looks like a rapist. Robert Franklin Warnick. Look up the name Robert Warnick on the Nebraska Sex Offender Registry. That's what a sexual predator looks like. Look up the name Wesley Reiner, Reiner, on the Nebraska Sex Offender Registry. That's what a sex offender looks like. Look up the name Mark Richman, Reichman. That's what a sex offender looks like. You know what all three of these men have in common? None of them were homeless. Mark Richman did that shit to his own family. Wesley Reiner did that shit to his own family. And yet you guys want to pretend that I'm one of those. You want to harm me as if I'm one of those. You want to treat me as if I'm one of those. Meanwhile, the two people I was supposed to be one of those too, neither one of them accused me of such a thing. To this day, Natalie Bollinger and Alicia Bollinger out of all of this, never once, ever claimed that I sexually molested them or raped them. Not once, ever. But then again, they didn't bother to come forward and say that I didn't do those things. Well, actually, Natalie did. Natalie came forward and said that we never had that kind of relationship. It's on her final post. The last post that she ever made public, where she slandered the shit out of my name and claimed that the things that I said were slander. No! The things that I said, there's evidence of fucking all of it. All of the things that transpired between myself and Natalie Bollinger. Every bit of it, but none of it was seen. I didn't even know I had a fucking court date. And I'd gone through over a year of jumping through these hoops, being sent from one place to another, to another, to another. I'm being abused. For over a year before Natalie was killed, I was being abused over Natalie Bollinger, pretending that I stalked her. Pretending. Because I did as she asked and went there to Virginia. Because I did as she asked, or as her twin sister asked, and stayed behind where her twin sister worked at the cricket store there. I went to a different Starbucks, the one that was in the same building as Alicia Bollinger worked at, in that cricket store. That was one of the selling points. I was fine with the Starbucks that I was at. It was close to some folks that I liked, and it was near a church that wanted a mural done. Hell yeah, that was good news, but they wanted me closer so that it would be easier to visit me. And Alicia Bollinger made sure that every single day that she worked, she got a hold of me to say, hey, come have a cigarette with me, or come have lunch with me. Every fucking day, every goddamn day. We went out where they wanted to on my birthday. Before Hurricane Matthew hit, we went where they wanted. To the pagoda, where I took those pictures. Or that one picture where people said, oh, well, see, he took pictures of the girls, so he's stalking them. No! We were where they wanted to go. They wanted to go there. That was their idea. But I was never allowed to face my accusers. The term mentally ill has been used to this day as an excuse to harm me and deny me the right to turn in people who are treating me like I'm a sexual predator. And that includes law enforcement. Because on your arrest record, any officer who looks your name up is going to see that. Going to see everything that you've ever been charged with. It doesn't matter if the charges were dropped, it's still on your arrest record. Those officers, they see my name there saying that I was charged with assault against a police officer. They're not going to fucking help me, you pieces of shit. It doesn't say on there that Waylon Lolitai assaulted people before that and after. It doesn't state on there that Waylon Lolitai in 2018 assaulted no less than 7 people on camera who he knew to be homeless or assumed to be homeless, including pulling a shotgun out on Zaid Atkinson. Zaid Atkinson wants to pretend that it was a race crime. It wasn't. Waylon Lolitai is far darker than Zaid Atkinson. When a woman tells one of them 3 lies, first of all, we need to ask who it is that told those lies and what the motivation was. Maddie Boa is the one that was running around claiming that I was some sort of a sexual fucking predator. Maddie Boa. And what was her motivation? It was sexual. She wanted to have sex with Natalie Bollinger. She'd already had sex with Alicia Bollinger, Natalie's twin sister. Maddie Boa is a lesbian, by the way. if you couldn't tell. I used to be friends with all of them, and also with Mackenzie Chapman. Mackenzie Chapman don't know the half of it. Like, those people had attacked me so many times prior to Natalie's death. When Mackenzie Chapman wanted to get in on it, like she knew what the fuck was going on, no, the fuck she didn't. And now people are dead. Maddie Boa, another fucking drug addict. And these drug addicts, they always want you to feel sorry for them and feel bad for them because of things that happened to them. You should forgive them for what they did to you because of the things that happened to them. They were molested, so it's justified. You should just forgive and forget. No. Don't ever forget. You think that one step you get to skip, the making amends. What Maddie Boa did was spread rumors that were untrue, resulting in people getting killed. But she had a lot of help. There were a lot of people who were mandated reporters who didn't want to do their jobs. They wanted me to jump through miles and miles of paperwork. At the end of the day, nothing happens. There's a time limit on turning in my predators. Why am I doing paperwork instead of having help? Turning in my predators. That's what I am going to all of these mandated reporters for, is help. Turning in my predators. Including sexual predators. Including child molesters. Including rapists. People who have actually been charged with child abuse. People who have actually been to prison for what they did to their own children. I said I would retaliate, and I have. If you're too much of a coward to speak out, that's on you. I'm not going to take the abuse because you're a coward. If I have to take the abuse, I'm going to tell people exactly why. Did I go to you for help? That is the simplest question. Some of these people wanted to beat around the bush for literally months or years. Did I go to you for help? Yes or no? Yes or no? And we get to see it at the end of the day. The answer is always yes, I did. I did go to these people for help that I said I went to for help. And the people who claimed that they would help me how I need did claim that they would help me how I need. But because of the three lies that came not from my supposed victim, but from Maddie Boa. To this day, I'm 42 years old. You'd think that if I was some sort of a sexual predator, especially after all that shit on the internet, all that shit all over the news being broadcast to millions of people worldwide. You want to pretend I'm crazy for saying worldwide? No, look up the name Natalie Bollinger. Look up the ones that were made just this month. Oh, we got another one of these spammers spamming a adult dating site. What do we do with these people? That's right, you know it. Hide user on this channel. That's so great that I can do that. If only I could do that in real life. People want to pretend that me getting on the internet is the problem. No, these people on the internet are definitely a problem, but not as much of a problem as what I have to face in real life. I have real problems because of people believing what they hear on the internet, not bothering to look it up, being entertained by it, and then murdering people. So many people are fucking dead over this situation. Because people didn't care to speak up. I was told that at least 5 homeless people were killed between Boulder and Denver for looking like me after Natalie was killed. I want you to think about that. I want you to think about how that affected me. How it affected me that after over a year of people threatening to kill me and my family, Natalie ends up with a fucking hole in her head. People have already assaulted me by this point on multiple occasions. I've already gone to law enforcement. I've already gone to my friends. These questions that these people keep asking. After 6 years, I'm still being asked by all these different agencies when I go to them, well, don't you have any friends or family that'll help? No, I don't. And that's how they triage me out every single time. No, I don't. I have people that say that they're gonna, but until they actually follow through, I can't believe you. And when people take months or years and still don't follow through on what they claim that they would do, which is tell the truth. That's what I wanted, the truth. Why can't you tell the truth? Why can't you admit to the public or to the police or to the courts or to the media that I did, in fact, go to you for help? When Natalie claims that I was just minutes from her house, I thought she lived in fucking Virginia. I was walking to Miss Peach's house. That's Kayla Trujillo. Kayla Trujillo knew it. She admitted to it in conversations almost a year after the fact. Conversations that I had to record and put on YouTube because she didn't come forward to the police about it. She didn't come forward to the media about it. She didn't come forward to anyone about it but me. Claiming that she was going to flee the state of Colorado if she'd actually told the truth from the very start. Yes, Sean did come to me for help. No, I didn't help because I was busy trying to get drugs to people and trying to wait for my kids to go to bed because Sean said that it wasn't appropriate for having kids around. And it's not. You guys telling me go to the library. You really think that that's going to go over well? People go to the library not to hear about rape and fucking murder. I can't make my phone calls from the library. Oh, we got another one. What do we do with these guys? Well, we take a screenshot and then we hide user on this channel. Blam, easy. Again, can't do that in real life. I have no protections. These hate crimes are allowed because I'm not a registered sex offender. These crimes committed against me are allowed because I don't fuck children. People are allowed to continually abuse me as if I were a sexual predator because I'm not registered as a sexual predator. How much sense does that make? You say common sense ain't that common, and there's a lot of people saying, oh, well, you know, common sense went out the window in the 1980s. No. This shit's been going on since the dawn of mankind. Stupid people are everywhere. You know why we live in a democratic republic? Actually, it's not a democratic republic, but it's modeled after what was supposed to be a democratic republic. It's because of situations like slavery. Until you change people's minds about something, like, of course, with the Romans and a lot of people's hatred for the Gaul. Once the Gaul became part of the Roman Empire, people still hated the Gaul for a long time. We got that going on in modern day. The reason that I've never been charged with a sexual crime is because I've never committed a sexual crime. The reason I've never been charged with child abuse is because I've never abused children. When I was a child, I certainly beat up a few other kids. I didn't like people putting their nasty cock beaters on me. That's understandable. If you're beating me up, it should be understandable when I beat you up back. I threw the first punch one fight my whole life. One. I hate confrontations and I hate violence. But when you back me into a corner and you make it a situation where it's going to be violent, what am I supposed to do? Just take it? That's your fucking advice? What the hell's wrong with you? Good to be rid of you. Thanks for coming to visit. Stay out of trouble or don't get caught. Remember, you are your brother's keeper and no victim left behind.